Hi, this is Steve Gillmor, and this is the Gillmor Gang. I'm leading with a painful silence. Okay, the first one who giggled is Kevin Marks. Welcome, Kevin.
Hi there, nice to see you again.
Okay, the second one who partially giggled was Robert Scoble. Welcome, Robert.
What's up?
The third one who is stone-faced as usual is John Taschek.
Greetings.
And joining us, audio only, if he can hear this, is Mike Arrington.
Yo.
Welcome, Mike.
Thanks.
How do you like your picture?
That's a handsome guy.
So
blue shirt. That must be circa, based on how fat I am in that picture, that's circa 2006? Something like that?
Are you saying that you're less fat now or more fat?
Right, exactly. I'm too fat to even do video on the Gillmor Gang anymore.
Oh.
Yeah, well. We'll leave the real
Hey, shut up,
reason.
Scoble. I'm not as fat as you yet.
Getting there.
You look like you've lost weight, Robert.
I bought a mountain bike. Mike, you should come out. Go riding with me.
Have
Take
you
your
ridden
dogs.
the mountain bike yet?
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk at some point about Ping, so how about now?
Okay.
Is anybody on Ping?
I am.
Well, of course you're on Ping. But...
Following almost 500 people there
All right,
already.
well, then you win the lottery. What is, who cares?
Nobody does. I mean, Apple fans care. People who use music care. It's just, it's a very poorly designed copy of Facebook.
Okay.
You know, what, should we go into details? I mean,
No, let's just sit here silently for an hour.
Finding people is really hard. You have to know who to follow. Then you do searches for music bands, you know, like I did searches for Elton John and The Who and the Beatles and Daft Punk, and none of those had social networks going.
The Beatles are not on iTunes.
I know, but, you know, I did a search anyway just to see if something would come up. Then I searched for people I knew, and I found some people, but like there's already 2 or 3 Mark Zuckerbergs, one of which is actually real. You know, it doesn't have a lot of features that we already take for granted on Facebook and on Twitter and on FriendFeed and other places, Google Buzz.
Mike, what do you think?
What's the topic?
Ping.
Apple Ping, as opposed to the golf club company or Loic's company.
So my only unique opinion on this, I think, I don't know if it's unique or not, but the thing I'm thinking is that it's fairly audacious of Apple to do this, and it shows that, I mean, I think Facebook has made a serious strategic error in not doing anything with music.
Yeah.
And, you know, MySpace did, and, you know, MySpace couldn't help but screw everything up anyway, so it was never much of a threat. But yeah, I mean, at some point, like, they have to do this, or it's just, you know, a vacuum gets filled. And so I think this is more interesting from, like, what the heck Facebook is doing than anything. And then why did Facebook kill the integration? And it looks like it came down to, you know, Apple not liking things like reviews being public and some other information like that. But that's about all I have to say on Ping.
All right. John Taschek, what do you think?
Well, I think some of the challenges they have are clear. I mean, all the spam that's been put out there. They've kind of limited how you upload pictures.
Well, why do we care about spam? I mean, if nobody's on the thing, then they should spam it to death, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's what they're doing. I think, but I think that they do have the built-in. I don't know how many copies of iTunes. It must be a couple 100 million of copies of iTunes out there.
They say 160 million.
106. So they have a built-in network. They're kind of doing what Microsoft did with Windows, and saying, well, okay, everyone has Windows. Now let's get all these applications on that, and their application social, the new application, and so it may be rudimentary now, but I think they can build it over time just because they have this installed base. Maybe this is kind of a trial thing. I don't know, but their first experience is very different from a typical first Apple experience where it's been, everybody loves it. And this time with Ping, they're getting either yawns or vitriol against it. And I think it's because Facebook has set a precedent pretty high on social to begin with. And I'm sure it's going to kill MySpace, but there's
well, MySpace is already dead, aren't they?
I think so. I never used it, so it was dead before it was even born for me.
Well, it's not dead. It's just being mismanaged. I mean, it's still 75 million. Is that there? I mean, I don't think anything killed MySpace. I think MySpace sort of committed suicide.
It imploded.
I just mismanaged. I mean, it's well, that's it. I'd love to have that topic, but I don't want to derail what you were saying. So sorry. Go ahead.
No, let's derail it. Go ahead.
Well, okay. So I mean, you saw like what Friendster did to itself. It died because it became too slow to use, and MySpace sort of zoomed in and was cooler and faster, right? That didn't happen to MySpace never had the performance issues. It just sort of failed to adapt to Facebook, and it thought it could, it's bigger, head on, Facebook doesn't matter. And then suddenly Facebook's bigger, and then CEOs start getting fired, and then there's all these politics and drama, and it's just now it's the biggest site on the internet that's completely irrelevant, and that I find fascinating. The reason I was thinking about this is yesterday I posted a video, the interview that I did with the CEO of Tagged. Do you guys remember Tagged? It was one of like the 5 social networks a few years ago.
No, I don't.
Yeah, it was just another one. I mean, it was MySpace and Facebook and Tagged, and there were a couple of others. And Tagged started off with the really young crowd that had to be a teenager. And then when Facebook opened up to teenagers, they opened up to everyone. And by 2007, even though they're profitable, they realized that they were going nowhere. They were flatlining on growth. And so they changed their model to adapt to Facebook. So one is you can actually create a tagged account with your Facebook account, which is really cool. You still can't do that on MySpace. But it's all about meeting new people and dating. So on Facebook, they hate it when you meet new people. Like, you can only click on your friends. You can't do like filtered searches for single women or men, 5 miles from you. And on Tag, you can. And so they've become this place where it's like Match.com without the stigma, because you're on a social network, not a dating site. They have 100 million users, 30+ million in profit, and Inc. just named them this year to the 500 fastest private growing companies. And so they actually just found a way to succeed, it looks like, whereas MySpace just, I don't know, like it's a Harvard Business School textbook example of fucking up.
Kevin Marsh, you haven't said anything yet. Oh, there's a good reason. I can't hear you. No, it's the fabulous missing audio Kevin Marks problem.
Hey, Steve?
Yep.
There's one other thing that I thought would be fun to talk about today, but we don't have to. We could put it off to another time. But it's a post I'm going to write. It has nothing to do with this, but it's about the new Windows Mobile operating system.
All right, hold that thought for just a second.
I've
Kevin,
been hearing some interesting things, so if you want to talk about it.
Yeah, I'd like to right now, but hang on a second. Kevin, we're going to call you back. Oh, that worked.
Okay.
Talk. Okay.
Apparently I was muted. I'm not sure how that happened.
All right, so go ahead, Mike.
Well, it's a whole other subject. I mean, why don't we do that later?
Okay. Yeah, let's have
if you want to.
20 minutes on something that we've already covered. And
well, do you want me to give you a couple of thoughts on Ping? My take on it is that you're right. They missed the boat. They made the assumption that they could pull the people in from Facebook, and Facebook cut them off. Now I've seen this happen before. They happened to us with Google Friend Connect, but it's basically Facebook said we're not going to let you do that. The next thing. The other thing about it is that it really reflects Steve Jobs' worldview, because in Ping, you're either an artist or you're a person. And they only chose a very small number of people to be honored as artists. And I've got a bunch of people who actually make a lot of money selling stuff through iTunes, and not able to get artist pages in Ping, and have no way of finding out how to do that. So it's very much fits in with sort of the Steve Jobs worldview of there are a few creative artists and the rest of you.
Yeah, except the problem with that, take on Jobs is that he has left an HTML hole open for all of his products, and eventually, after he corners the market, then he brings in the rabble, as we are called. So I don't think that that's any kind of permanent issue. The fact that right now only Lady Gaga can talk to us and we can't talk to her, I think that's just a temporary problem.
Well, it's not that we can talk to her, and of course she's swamped with comments. But the point is, you can't become an artist and have the ability to post pictures and music.
But my point is that through the podcast hole, which is what iTunes calls amateur content, you can do that. It's just right now it's not obvious how you would do that. I think it's just too early.
Yeah. The other problem is people are trying it, building their social graphs right now. And like right now, I have a whole page of people who are following other people, but no discussion about music, and that's going to get old really quickly because you can't filter out anything. You can't say, don't show me all the people who are following other people,
Well, I think
what are they talking about if they're not talking about music?
They're just, it says John started following John Garado. Tristan started following Buzz Anderson, Cable, Robert Anderson, and it just goes on and on and on. Adam started following this guy. Matthew started following Dave Weiner. John started, following this guy. It's just a page of people following each other. And there's no discussion yet of music or of concerts that people are going to. When I do see that stuff show through, it's actually pretty interesting. And I can try the music right there. Like, Al just started, Zounds, and I can go there and preview the music, and it's pretty cool. And I can buy it right there. You can tell this is a very commerce-oriented social network. It's so poorly designed and thought out, and it's so early that there's not much value here.
Well, I want to sort of shift over to what Mike wanted to talk about, but I'll get the last word here, which is that I think they're going to expand it to include movies and show business, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like every other social network. Only right now they already have all the money. They have 160 million people doing transactions on this network. So the barrier to entry for them is trivial compared to pretty much any other social network except Facebook. So I think they're going to do very well with it. It's just very, very early days. Mike, you want to pick up on that subject?
On the Windows mobile stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. Also, Scoble, will you please check your email? I've been emailing you and you're not responding. Just check it.
Okay.
Fuck. Just pull up your iPad or your Maxi, whatever.
I'm looking at
it. He's not picking it up because he's on priority Gmail now.
So I heard something.
You want me to write a column? Oh, I got it.
They're both interesting. So
nice scoop there. I hope Kara's watching.
What was this? What did he say?
He just said you want him to write a column.
Yeah, I want Scoble to write, because he's written guest posts for us, and I want him to do it more regularly, like once a week, and we'll pay him, because we haven't paid him.
Well, I can't take pay. I'm working for Rackspace. I've been turning down everybody who offers me to pay something for pay. But I'm interested, so let's talk.
Rackspace cares about conflicts of interest? I mean, what?
Oh, they do, actually.
All right, I'll just write
I'm a wholly owned entity of Rackspace.
I'll just write a post saying you can't be a columnist for us because Rackspace is ridiculously biased and lame.
I'll take it and put it in the beer kitty for all the employees.
No, I'm not interested in that. I thought we'd agree to something and then announce it here on the Gillmor Gang, but
you kind of just did.
I got to pay you, because if I don't pay you, you won't do it. You'll be like, I'm busy this weekend. I'm like looking at this bike and thinking of going on a bike ride or whatever. So on
So no, wait a minute. Let's clear the. Wait a minute. I want to know. So
how much are we talking
yes?
About, by the way?
Have you accepted this? Scoble, have you accepted the offer?
I want to hear what the payment is.
Well, you just said you can't accept payments, but
I know. But what are we talking about here? I can negotiate.
Mountain bike parts, or trail
payment enough to quit Rackspace. Yeah.
I think we should probably negotiate that off camera. But we can do it on email and then announce it in 10 minutes.
Well, you're already off camera, Mike. Why can't?
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, Windows Mobile. So, everybody's talking about, like, Windows Mobile 7 is interesting because it doesn't suck completely. But, like, CNET called it elegant and Gadget's not trashing it. I mean, it's like anyone who gets the phone in their hands is like, wow, it's actually kind of good. And but then they always say, well, but where does it compete? It's not going to compete with the iPhone because they're not building their own phones. It competes with Android. Android is less than free because they actually pay manufacturers to put Android on the phones. And so how are they going to compete with that, with a semi-open source operating system? And actually what I've heard is that isn't the story. So I've heard that actually Google is freaking out about Windows 7 for a couple of reasons. And they're kind of odd reasons. And I want to know if you guys had heard anything, or Scoble, like, since you used to work there, what you think about this. But one is, the way Android has been built, it requires the device manufacturers to build their own drivers. And it's apparently a huge and time-consuming pain in the ass. And that Microsoft's put a ton of effort into building all the drivers. And so it makes it a lot easier for the phone manufacturers. And two is that, anybody who has an Android phone knows that unless you have a pure phone like the Nexus 1, that updates to the operating system come late, weeks, months, never, to get the updates to the operating system, because the manufacturer/carrier has to build a separate version of the operating system to make sure it works with their phone. And that takes time, and it's a pain, and it's expensive. But that the way, and I don't understand exactly how yet, but that the way Windows has been architected, along with the fact that they actually control all the drivers and have built them already, that they can flow updates through immediately, sort of all at once to all the different phones. And that for some reason, those two things is it's freaking out, Google out, that they're going to lose market share, and that they might get squeezed. So they might get squeezed between Windows and Apple, as opposed to Microsoft getting squeezed between them and Apple. Have you guys heard anything about this? Make sense?
It makes sense. I was at SmugMug this week, and they're working on an Android app that'll be released shortly. And they said it's a real pain in the ass to develop for Android because you have to test for so many different phones and make sure it works right. And if Microsoft can solve that for developers, they will get some traction with app manufacturers.
It's kind of ironic that that the whole Windows model has been, that their biggest problem has been that they have to wrangle all these different hardware manufacturers. And now it's coming home to roost as far as Google is concerned, if in fact what you're saying, Robert, is true.
Kevin?
I think that the different versions thing is overstated. It is actually surprisingly easy to do it. You just test it on a few of them and suddenly find it works on lots of them.
No, I don't think it's overstated. Look at the tethering thing. Which phones support tethering? Do you know?
Yeah, the Evo.
No, they all support it if you use PDA-Net.
OS?
The point is that the OS thing is subject to carrier veto, so that's a separate issue. But if you write an app yourself, you can get it running on all these devices. And yeah, you have to debug it on a couple of them and say, oh, that was got a bigger screen.
How is that a separate issue? How is that a separate issue? I mean, everybody talks about.
It's a separate issue because it's a system level feature that the carriers are trying to turn on off. You mean that
Apple didn't do anything when they tipped over the carriers by focusing on an exclusive contract with AT&T. That's how they got where they got. So, when it comes time for the great Google, strategy not working because they're not able to get the kind of leverage across multiple devices to be able to force the carriers into play.
There is the leverage across multiple devices.
It's not a myth. I was at SmugMug, and they're a big developer. I think they're Amazon's biggest customer, and they are very actively complaining about developing on Android. They're doing it, and they paid people to do it, but they said it's a real pain in the ass to do it.
Yeah, and it's I'm saying that's exaggerated, and because I'm developing on Android here, I've got another people who are, and there are a few issues around compatibility. It's not like I can write this once and have it work everywhere, but
it's better than RIM. Everybody's complaining about how bad it is to develop.
It's compared to what we had before, where you had to write a separate app for every operating system and every phone model pretty much. It's way better.
Yeah. I was at Plug and Play, which is a big startup building, what do you call it, accelerator or whatever, here in Silicon Valley, and they just got a look at the Microsoft Windows phones, and the reaction there was very negative toward Microsoft, mostly because they just haven't sold any phones yet. So developers are they look out for their own self-interest, and if you haven't sold any phones, they're like, why should we develop for you? And that's going to be Microsoft's Achilles heel for a while.
So, Mike, what do you think? What do you think is going to happen here? He's on the other phone, I'm sure. That's why I'm just trying to illustrate that.
I mean, the thing is, but if you were going by volume, you'd be developing for Nokia, and people aren't.
That's true. Although I just talked with the lady who runs Sephora.com. So Sephora is a big retailer that sells women's products, makeup and stuff like
perfume,
that.
Yeah.
Perfume. She says 80% of all mobile users in her stores are using iPhones, and everybody else is splitting the 20%.
It's a huge upscale store. Massive overlap with Apple. It looks like an Apple store. Have you been in Sephora?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. There's demographic overlap.
OpenTable told me that most of their sales are coming from iPhone users, and eBay told me that most of
they make reservations for expensive restaurants. You're basically saying rich people use iPhones.
Excellent.
People with money.
People with money.
Right. So speaking of, not speaking of Android, John, do you have any comment on this?
I guess it's, my take on it is that anytime you have a software and a hardware device, you're going to have device drivers and problems with it, and you also have to worry about the display size and how things fit in. And Microsoft is probably many steps worse than Apple, which controls the entire environment. And maybe it's a little bit better than Android now, but all the momentum seems to be behind Android. And just like with many open source projects, there's going to be a little chaos before it reaches some kind of stasis where it evens out.
So you think that that Microsoft doesn't have any leverage with, in other words, I'll ask it a different way. Do you think that Office is no longer relevant?
Oh, my answer to that. It's becoming less relevant every day. But if you
what is the Windows Mobile get? I mean, what is it that they have? If they don't have connection to the applications that control, the enterprise.
Exactly. It's the Microsoft, wasn't it the Kin or something like that? They spent $100 million advertising it, and then they just pulled it like a week later.
I'm asking it in a different way, which is, don't they have a huge advantage in the enterprise?
Microsoft?
Yeah, Microsoft.
They've got people using Office, but more and more people feel that they don't feel the need to be tied into that framework anymore. It's moving on to different structures, different conversations. And what does Microsoft have besides their investment in Facebook? I mean, they just don't. Their stuff is it's a dinosaur. It's archaic. It's stacks of hardware and software that are built and that you have to plug in. They have to build whole frameworks on their back end and develop all the mobile devices.
So who are they selling to? Who's making all of Microsoft's money?
They sell to the same people that continue to buy the same stuff. I mean, it's just upgrade after upgrade, or they got most of their revenue last time off Windows 7 because Windows Vista happened to be so bad that all the PC buyers needed to buy Windows 7. I mean, it's just they have a multiple.
Okay, enough of the softballs. Mike, are you back with us?
Sorry, I was sort of engaging on friend feed, but yeah, I'm here.
You haven't been on friend feed in 4 years.
I just created an account.
Again?
I hate friend feed.
Yeah, well,
I love the software. I just hate the mob. But so far, there's no one.
All right, well that's a good takeoff point.
Hey, Mike, nobody's on friend feed anymore, so you don't have to worry about the mob.
I know.
That's why he likes it now.
You're really quiet over there.
All right, so I've noticed that Twitter is really coming on strong. I don't know. Does anybody else agree with that?
I think Twitter might actually be a winner. Those guys might have something over there.
Yeah.
Somebody recently joined Twitter and asked me if what I thought of it before they accepted. And I said, so I was like thinking about it, and I said, worst case, Twitter gets bought for $2 billion, and that's if they fail to monetize. Like, they just flail around. Best case, whatever. I mean, it could be huge. Like,
they just hired a big executive from one of the world's biggest publishing companies, didn't they? I forget who it was.
I don't know. They hired their whole sales team. That was a big deal they've recently done.
But what I see, Mike, have you used this new iPad thing that MG is?
No, I couldn't download it. Are you guys it's every time you go to Twitter on the iPad, it says, "Hey, download the app," and I try to download it. It goes, "Oh, sorry, you can't." So I figured something was wrong.
Yeah, it's too popular, evidently.
Yeah, so I haven't downloaded it yet.
Well, Robert, you saw it.
Yeah, I have it. In fact,
has it taken FlipScam's place on your iPad?
It's not competitive with that. It's different.
What?
It's
a full-blown, not competitive with what?
It's a full-blown Twitter client. You can't write tweets on Flipboard.
Do?
Flipboard can't do. And Flipboard's a magazine. Flipboard's for when you want to read something, and have it look beautiful. Let me pull it up. Let me pull up the new Twitter.
Yeah, I got it. I got it too, and it's underwhelming now, but you see what they're doing. I don't know if you can see this. Yeah. It just looks like a big iPhone app, and although it's high resolution.
But as MG correctly points out, their layers model is really smart. And the way that they encapsulate while at the same time giving you a choice about web pages is really, really smart. And nobody else seems to have understood this.
That's not on the iPad app, though. Yes,
it is.
I'm not getting anything like that on my version.
Well, you'd have to read MG's story.
You have to make sure you've got the new one, not the old one.
Yeah, there it goes.
The new one looks like this.
Scoble's got it. Yeah.
Well, I got it last night, so I don't. I mean, are they having version problems too? I mean,
the new one looks like this, and it shows you the web page underneath the tweet.
Oh, I want that one.
So it caches in the web page. If there's a Bitly link or a link to a TechCrunch article or something like that, it'll show you the web page underneath the tweet. It's really pretty cool. That's a copy, by the way, of Flipboard.
Yeah, I got that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. In other words, Flipboard has absolutely no IP whatsoever, and it's just
no, that's not true. It's totally different.
All right. Well, what's different about it?
A Flipboard has layout and it has design. The Twitter app looks like a piece of junk. I mean, it's not that interesting. It's not any different than Twitterific or Osphora or any of the other Twitter clients. It doesn't have real time yet. I mean, I have TweetDeck running on my Mac back here, and it's coming in real time. Why isn't that on the iPad yet? I want to sit there at night and just watch the real time web go on.
How can you see it when your head is facing the other way? I don't understand that.
He's Scoble.
I'm Scoble. I have eyes in the back of my head.
Here's a big mirror.
All right. Well, I thought it was pretty cool, actually.
Yep.
And I think in general, what's going on with Twitter, they are mastering the art of filtering better than anybody is.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big story. I don't think.
Well, wait until we get DataSift. When we get DataSift with some of these readers, that's going to be really cool.
Why for about a week until DataSift gets absorbed by Twitter? I mean, I think that's Dave Weiner. I think is right about this.
Dave Weiner.
Yeah, remember him? He's right about this one thing. About
Dave
Twitter.
Weiner's right about a lot of things. He's just
but I'm talking about Twitter. What he says about Twitter. He's recently, I think, I haven't been reading him as much as I used to, but I think he's quit. He's decided that Twitter has jumped the shark. Or
you can only quit things once before you lose all credibility. Once you quit things,
how's that friend feed going for you? Silence.
I'm going to go back to trashing Rackspace on.
So what did you, talking of Twitter, what did you guys make of Ev's post about how many users they've got? Because that seemed a little disingenuous to me.
How many do they have? 146 million?
Well, it was also a chart of which clients were being used that was splashed everywhere yesterday. You put that up somewhere, Mike, didn't you? TechCrunch?
They have at least 180 million unique users based on some digging we might have done.
Well, they say 145 million. So
well, but everybody's always you want to have some play in there so you can keep ramping up even when you plateau. But I have no idea how many of those are fake. Probably about 160 million of them. But there's lots of people use Twitter.
Well, when using this new iPad app, it actually is using the metadata like replies to create gasp conversations. It's working. I mean, while everybody's
Yay.
been
Finally.
it's 100 years has gone by, and
well, they
you
had
can
that in the
actually
search,
track a
in whatever
conversation.
that search thing was before they bought it, and then they broke it.
Surmise.
Surmise had that.
Yeah,
but
because they
it was
took the
working,
team
and then
and put them on
they-
scalability.
Yeah, but
plan.
I mean, come on. Let's be fair. They started supporting the metadata for replies. I don't know what that is. They started supporting that about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago.
They had to wait for the clients to
But
catch
nobody's been using it, and it's been a lot of chasing of tails. But now they've got retweets. They've got an architecture that they can start to form fit into their client. So I think that, Robert, I understand that Seismic has the same strategy of being able to support multiple clouds, but Facebook seems to make it impossible to be able to aggregate them along with Twitter effectively. So it's going to come down to the individual clouds being able to support conversational features in real time. Then they've got what they need. And if they add track, as you're suggesting, then we're back to 5 years ago. Track's coming back, Mike.
Yeah.
No, track
called Data Sift.
That's right.
It's coming next week.
No, Data Sift, evidently.
Track is really hard. What was that company that Salim tried to do, and the Technorati flailed at this? I mean, it's Google's the only one that does it. Period. And they don't even do it that well.
No, they don't. But although the new stuff that you didn't see the show last week, but we had these Google, Chris Messina and another guy who's been working on the real time stuff, and they, classically they have two teams sitting side by side that don't even know each other, working on identical capabilities, one on the API and one in the client. But if you get one of these updates, it works pretty well.
I think you guys haven't seen Data Sift. I think that is track done right. So
I'm sure that's true. The only danger with sidling up to Twitter is that if they decide that it's done well enough, then they'll take it.
There goes Google Voice.
It's like 18 phones start ringing at once.
Right.
I don't even know how to turn that off. Hold on. Ignore. All right, sorry.
Okay, Robert, go ahead.
No, I think there's a lot happening. First of all, Twitter has way more flow than Facebook does in terms of the tech industry and news industry, and has the ability to mix and match streams from people, which Facebook doesn't have. I can't take Mike Arrington's stream and mix it with Steve Gillmor's stream in a way that I can do it in public. I can do it on my private page, but my private page can't have more than 5,000 people on it, and so it really pisses me off. But Facebook. I think this is why people have decided Facebook is for talking to your personal friends, and sharing personal photos. Twitter is about mixing and matching public things that you want to do in public, which include things like TechCrunch. For me, RSS is dead. I haven't used an RSS aggregator for a long time. Cough. And I'm using.
Can we add Nick Halstead to this conversation?
No.
Really?
He'll
he
be
has
on.
to show me code. As soon as he shows me code, he's on.
As soon as he ships code, you mean? Because he's already shown code.
Well,
so
code for
that's
what?
what I mean.
Data Sift.
I'm out here. I don't see it. Robert Scoble's seen it. I haven't seen it. When he shows me code.
I want to ask him how his business has been affected since Twitter started competing with him, which I did ask on FriendFeed. But the data will come out eventually, but he knows now. So anyway.
Oh, what is he saying? Can you read the answer?
He said, "I said, can you tell us?" He said, "I can. Yes." I think he's playing grammar police.
Well, I'm looking forward to him actually shipping this. When does he say he's shipping it, Robert?
It's soon. Days away, weeks away. He said in September. So.
Okay. Well,
Robert, what are you doing with that laser pointer? What's that all about?
It's a blue laser pointer. I don't know. Somebody sent it to me for free. So.
Don't you have to give that to Rackspace?
What's that?
Can you take free stuff like that, or do you have to hand that over to the Rackspace Foundation?
It's a loan for 30 days. Loan for 30 days.
all right. Well, I'm going to start wrapping this one up.
Nick says he's typing an answer, so let's talk until
No,
Nick
let's get Nick. Let's add Nick. Well, it's not the Arrington gang. It's the fucking Gillmor Gang. But I'm just saying, like,
You finally figured it out, Mike.
No, thank God he's known it all along.
Steve, I know you don't like Nick, but I think he has some interesting.
Hey, that's not fair.
All right, he just answered that they lost 20% at first, but have continued to grow. Twitter growing even faster. The whole point was to make the whole ecosystem grow faster.
Right, until he gets big enough that Twitter says, yum, gulp.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think what he's doing with DataSift is very interesting. So
I do too.
I
think
can't
it's
wait
exciting.
till he ships.
It's just that there's a, what is the phrase? I don't know. There's a dilemma. There's a dilemma in working with Twitter. Yeah. And right now I think that they're functioning on all cylinders. I think they're growing fast. They're rolling out the core of what needs to be rolled out in terms of filtering. And they're going to get there first because God knows what the Facebook algorithm is. It doesn't appear to be one that they can verbalize without making some sort of big play for a public everyone feed, and they don't seem to want to do that. So I don't know, Mike. What was your take on the Facebook effect? I know I saw you interview David Kirkpatrick, but what was your ultimate take about David's view of Facebook, and do you think it's an accurate view? I was impressed.
I don't think there are. The problem with the book, I think it's a wonderful book, and it was a really good read. Mm-hmm. The problem with the book is, I'm speculating here, but he had extremely deep access to Facebook, like clearly dozens of hours spent with the executives and former founders, or founders who have left. What he didn't do, and he told me flat out, is like, a lot of the early litigation, the Winklevoss guys and all that, he never even spoke to them. And he told me that he felt that their complaints filed with the courts were enough to understand their side of the story. And clearly that's not the case. I mean, the complaints are written by lawyers, and they're written in such a way to help with the court case, but certainly not to like let out all the juicy details. And so I think that was a huge problem, and I wrote in my review that it was flawed because it's a one-sided story. And so I think that someday somebody needs to write the whole story about Facebook in a more dispassionate way, and they can use Kirkpatrick's book, I think, to help them understand Facebook's side of things if Facebook doesn't give them the access that they want.
Right. Well, the thing though that I noticed I haven't finished it, but no, I did finish it. The thing that I noticed from the book was that Zuckerberg's, and I think of all people, Sean Parker's, sort of persistence in maintaining this sort of iterative development in the face of real problems with the press and the public, and on and on. That in spite of my feeling that they should go against Twitter directly, that they appear to have been right about this all along. And so I'm wondering, do you see Facebook as blunting what Twitter is doing now, or do you think it's even relevant to what Facebook is about? Does that make sense? Oh, he's on another call. Great.
Who?
You.
Oh, you asked me a question?
Yeah.
I totally disagree. What was the question?
Let's see if I can summarize it in 2 words. Facebook good, beat Twitter?
Facebook, good. Beat Twitter. I don't think so. I think Twitter has its own thing, and Facebook will never be that thing. I think they're separate. I think Facebook will always be 10 times higher market cap than Twitter. It's just way too monetizable. Twitter isn't. In fact, if I was Twitter, I'd just give up monetizing and just join with, have Facebook monetize. Seriously, I would.
You mean buy them or partner with them?
No, I just say, you monetize us. Sort of like, Yahoo does with Microsoft, although they do search too, but like AOL does with Google, they monetize their search, right? I just say you Facebook monetize us, and let's do a 20-year deal at a 90% revenue share. And I bet, well, I actually don't think Facebook would do that deal because right now Facebook is saying they have more inventory than they need, and so they're not actually all that interested in like doing stuff with third parties. But someday they will, I think, want to look at deals like that.
And do you see that same strategy flowing down through the stack? In other words, Foursquare monetizing with Facebook or the...
Here's my thought on Foursquare. I think Foursquare should have, despite the fact that I wrote exactly the opposite post, I think that given enough history that I think people will look back at Foursquare turning down $100 million from Yahoo and Microsoft, by the way. I think they actually might have turned down more from Microsoft. Might have been less than smart.
Okay. I just want to comment on the, I've seen the return of this show would be much better without Gillmor. Thank you, Kenny. So with that in mind, starting with Scoble, last thoughts.
Ping stands for ping is not good.
Okay. Didn't have to be that short.
Apple, this is the first product that Apple has disappointed me with in quite some time.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the first Apple TV?
I like that better than this.
No, you don't. Do you even have one? Have you ever bought one?
I have one.
I have one. And I'm buying
first
another
Apple
one of the
TV
new ones,
didn't
too.
have a browser, for God's sake.
You like what better than what?
I didn't say
browser.
the Apple TV. Yeah, this is even worse than Apple TV.
Oh, so it's worse than a hobby. It's an obsession.
Well, it feels like a hobby that was rushed to market.
All right, Kevin.
Well,
I think that Ping would have been really good if it was integrated with Facebook. I think the fact that it wasn't is a real problem for Apple too. But.
That's well. My take on it was that they should have actually done some better delegation and let you integrate it with more than one thing. And putting all the eggs in the Facebook basket has burnt them really hard. And I was surprised Jobs made that mistake again because of all the stuff he said about Adobe holding a gun to his head. So I'm surprised they didn't actually say, oh, actually we should plug this into Twitter, we should plug this into Google.
Oh, that reminds me. Did any of you see the Motorola ad, the anti-flash ad, or the Pro Flash ad?
Not seen that. No, what's it like?
It's like, oh look, here's a phone that you can watch Flash on.
No, not seen that one. I'll have a look.
Yeah.
Compelling. Sounds compelling, Steve.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It really reached deeply into my soul. All right, John, last thoughts.
Well, the consumer, all these consumer things are, they are the leading indicator of what's going to happen in the enterprise. But it just seems like there's so much happening with them that there's all these conflicts developing. I think that's going to happen in the enterprise space, where they're not. There's going to be a lot of confusion coming out, and I hope it gets cleared up pretty quickly. Maybe we'll be the ones to do it, but I don't know. Something's got to shake down here with the metadata. All this open access makes everything possible, but the politics and things behind the scenes, the mismanagement of companies. It's just making for a lot of chaos out there. So that makes everything really exciting. I think it'll make the Gillmor Gang really exciting in the next few weeks too.
Yeah, well, we know what we're talking about. So, Mike, last thoughts?
Sprint sucks. I'll tell you that. I just wanted to, and
What
also
were they
Delta.
billing you for? Did you ever work that out?
fuckers. You know what they did? I'm not even gonna write a post on this because like it's getting old, but like I'll say it here and maybe I will write a post. But so like Sprint puts me on this like limited minute plan. I didn't know. And so I get, and then they started sending my bills to where they did my credit check, which is not where I live, and so I wasn't getting any bills, and so I wasn't paying attention. So then they start sending me text messages saying like, you haven't paid, we're going to shut you off. So I call, and they're like, you owe us $700 for the last month, and I'm like, excuse me? And they said, yeah, you are on the 450-minute plan, and so I never even use the phone, but it's on, and so every time I get a call on Google Voice, like it rings that phone, and that's 45 cents a minute.
Google Voice wins again.
So I'm like, okay, fine, I'll pay the bill. And so they take my credit card number. So this is a short version, by the way. They take my credit card and they charge it and they say, oh, it didn't go through. We'll try again. We'll try again. They tried it 3 times. My credit card shut down. My bank said the first charge went through. So the next day they actually shut my phone down. So I called the next day. It's the only phone call I could make from the phone. And they said, oh, well, none of the charges went through. And I said, well, my bank says the first one went through. And I said, why don't you just charge it again? And if you overcharge me, give me a credit or I'll just charge it back or whatever. And they said, we can't do that. If there's a dispute over a payment, we have to conference in your bank. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. First of all, it's a company credit card. I don't even know the bank. It's Chase. I have no idea who to call. And so I end up saying, just cancel the account because I have 8 other phones. And they go, okay, but we have to charge you for the month, and we're going to charge you for the phone, even though this is a phone Google gave us at I/O, and they weren't supposed to charge us for the phone. They're charging the early termination fee. And so I end up owing them like $1,000. It's like $900. And there's like nothing I can do about it other than, use TechCrunch, right? I mean, as a consumer, I'm just screwed. And like, there's no way around this. And they've already dinged my credit, by the way. And so my credit score has something. So I'm super pissed at them, and it's just ridiculous. On the upside, Sprint actually works really well where I live. It's only so.
Yeah, I hate to take that as a softball, but Sprint is a big Oracle ERP shop, and it sounds like a huge flaw in another lawsuit against Oracle. So thanks for that information there, Mike.
Okay. Mike doesn't care. It's it's all about not the enterprise.
Okay.
Okay. All right. I want to thank Mike Arrington and Robert Scoble and Kevin Marks and John Taschek. I want to thank Rackspace and particularly Rob Legess, without whom this show would not be back on the air, and the TriCaster from NewTek, without which this wouldn't be on video. I want to thank everybody who showed up, and especially those like Kenny who didn't. Bye-bye.
Who killed Kenny, by the way?
Are we done?
We're done.
We're done.
Scoble!